that the same kind of agricultural activities are conducted on that land. And I think the state has a very important role to play in looking at the lands that it has to see what can be devoted for agricultural use. I know farmers also, I know people, I've talked to some landowners who control a lot of our land, who have indicated to me that they are prepared and willing to let farmers have some of their land. And the problem is not the land availability, the problem is water. And they don't have the water on some of the lands they want to have let farmers use. So we have to look also at the priority that we give to the water users. On this island here, for example, at one point, just my chief of staff came to me and told me that the water length on Halawa was going down, and that's our best water length source of here on this island. And he indicated to me that unless we do something, we're going to destroy the water length, we're going to overdraw, and we're not going to have the recharging take place. And so we had a commission established. We looked at how much water could be used without hurting the future of that water use. And we made the determination, I don't know what numbers are, maybe 300 million gallons a day. But we felt also that the state had a responsibility of making that allocation of the water so that it would be useful and fair to everybody. And so we allocated some section to the farming, some to the military, some to the water supply, in order that we can take that existing water supply and be sure that it meets all the requirements, and not just the requirements of one part of that. And so that's the other thing that we felt very strongly about, the need for water. I remember, I talked about the ag park, and I remember the huge, big battle that we were having out in the Renwood side. Joe Paul wanted to take land in Waihoʻole, and he wanted to develop that into big housing. And when we saw that happening, we became very concerned about what would happen to those lands. And after the housing were all built, I approached Mrs. Marks and asked her whether or not she might not want to have a legacy, not as a person who owned land that became developed, but a legacy of having turned those lands that they owed, the Mark estate land, being used in agriculture. And at first she objected to the idea, first my meeting with her. About 2 weeks later she called me, she said, Alan King, the lawyer, called me and told me, we want to talk. We came together, we talked again, and she said, I've been thinking about this, and I've been thinking about maybe wanting the state to take over the land. And then we started talking about the price, and I told her I could pay her $6 million immediately. And she told me, $6 million, that property is worth a lot more than that. I said, that's right. But remember, we talked about your legacy also. It's not only the money, but what you're going to do to the future of Hawaii. And she came back later on, she told me, I'll take $6 million. So we were able to get $6 million, all of Waihoʻole Valley, from mountain out to the freeway there. And I was very happy with that because we now created a now very viable group of parcel of property for ag use. I became very disturbed about 10, 12 years ago when I was writing an monthly article for the business magazine. I heard about the Waihoʻole property being turned over to the Hawaiian Homes Commission. And that Hawaiian Homes Commission, you turn that over to them, it's a development, they're going to develop the whole valley. And I became very concerned that the purpose of Waihoʻole was for a contrary purpose, to provide more agriculture there, and that this is going to destroy it. I wrote an article, one of the articles I addressed the question of Waihoʻole and the need for us to retain land that we currently have in agriculture. And to the extent that we have control, we should never be the ones who take that agricultural land and turn it to other kinds of more urban use. And I was very happy that the proposal to do that, to turn over to the Hawaiian Homes Commission, did not materialize. So that's something that I think is very important for us to remember. Take our lands, we have control over it, don't give up to other use from an agricultural use. That to me is very, very important. I also remember in the 1957 session of the legislature, when we had a group of farmers coming to us from Waimanao telling us they wanted to have lands out there that they could farm. And we thought it was a good idea. We did that. Then they came back to us and told us, no, we want to buy the property so that we will know that the land will be in agriculture. We can farm on it forever. And we thought that was a good idea too. So the then territory went ahead and sold those lands to the farmers. The problem was, 20 years later, when I was governor, they started to come to me and tell me, oh, we're no longer farmers and we want to retire. So we'd like to get rid of the property and we'd like to get it urbanized. And I tell this story only to indicate, again, don't lose control of the land. It's important. You turn it over, whether you sell it or not, for a very good purpose at that particular time. Sell it to farmers. They can farm out there, own it, and then farm. Situation can change in the future, and you must not let those changes affect the availability of our land here in Hawaii. I also feel very strongly about the agricultural production in Hawaii. We talk about food for ourselves, and that's very important. But you know, we had sugar and pineapple here at one time, and that employed a lot of people. But sugar and pineapple was not sold, sugarcane sold and pineapple sold. They were processed. And that process to me is very, very important. I was working in a cannery when I was in high school. And every summer we would go to the cannery and we work on processing the pineapple, cutting it, cleaning it, cutting it, putting it in a can. And what it did was to make it possible for that thing to be exported, to be longer time of shelf life, so that it could be sold in faraway markets. I believe also that while we are talking about self-sufficiency and food for ourselves, the farmers have to make money too. And farmers have to be there to farm. They might want to farm. And we need to encourage more and more people, not only those who are interested today, but more and more people to get into agriculture. And in order to do that, they have to have a future. They have to feel that they can get involved in an activity that's very profitable. And I would like to see our products being sold from farm to supermarkets and grocery sales and sold. But I want to see processing take place also, so we can take more foods that we can grow here and we can put it in can, process it, and make it possible for that to be sold to other places.